Okay, so I just wrapped up the stream and went and checked on the family and everything, and then it turns out a bunch more news has broken since then. I have the lights off because I wanted to flex. Alexa, turn on the studio.
Okay.
Pretty cool, right? So the news that's broken, there's a few different things that you'll be seeing us upload on Luke Stevens Live for these updates. But the first one I wanted to discuss real quick was Grand Theft Auto maker Rockstar Games is asking their workers to return to the office 5 days a week. What's funny is like the reports or the responses on Twitter are hilarious. I mean, nobody gives any crap. Everybody is like freaking out, like, oh wow, really novel. You gotta come in and go to work. Come in, oh no, this is good. No, why is this bad? Lol, not happy about a 5 day work week. People are kind of freaking out about it. 5 days in a week at an office. OMG, no way. It's a disaster. 5 days in a week at an office. People are being a little aggressive or funny with it. The reason this is a point of contention is because they've been allowing work from home for a while, evidently. So asking everybody to come back in is causing some drama, but it makes sense. I mean, most of these leaks come from people working remote, and then some of those remote access tools or servers getting hacked or exploited one way or another. So it makes sense that in the final push to launch of GTA 6, they're saying, everybody in the office, let's all get inside and prep. So, as they describe here, Jason Schreier does, Rockstar Games, a division of Take-Two Interactive Software Incorporated, will ask employees to return to the office 5 days a week beginning in April as the video game maker enters the final stages of development for its next game, Grand Theft Auto 6. In an email to staff on Wednesday, reviewed by Bloomberg, Rockstar head of publishing Jen Colby said the decision was made for productivity and security reasons. The company has faced several security breaches, including a massive dump of early footage from the new GTA game, and an early trailer that leaked in December. And if you watched the making of The Last of Us Part 2 documentary, Grounded 2, in that documentary, they outline how the leaks that happened with The Last of Us Part 2 back in 2020 came from the working remote stuff that they had, because they had the big server and you had to be able to access it remotely from home during COVID, and that created all new back doors and front doors and side doors and windows and all sorts of places that hackers could get into and people could get into if they were trying to break in. Initially, they thought it was like a disgruntled employee. Apparently, that was debunked, and it turned out it was just somebody. It was a fan that was upset that they had delayed the game, and so they did that to try and help them push out a release date for some reason, which is just funny that's the motivation apparently. Anyway, with this, Colby wrote that the company also found, quote, tangible benefits, end quote, from in-person work. Quote, making these changes now puts us in the best position to deliver the next GTA game at the level of quality and polish we know it requires, along with a publishing roadmap that matches the scale and ambition of our game, she wrote. This is something that's like hotly contested. I know some people kind of counter this, but every instance I've ever come across from a corporate perspective has found that productivity is higher when working in an office. More work gets done. People tend to be more productive, more efficient. The same employees put in an office is more productive than those same employees working from home. And so from a corporate perspective, they would rather work in an office. And one of the best ways to like negotiate this is to just ask yourself, well, if the corporation could get rid of office buildings, which are freakishly expensive to lease from these big corporate conglomerates that own the skyscrapers and stuff that they rent, if they could avoid paying those rent bills and leasing and all the tech and all the office furniture, if they could avoid paying all of that, they would. But it's just that these teams are so much more productive in person that it's actually worth that expense to have people come into the office. It's I know people might think that it's about control or it's about this or that. At the end of the day, it's just that these companies find it to be much more productive. From the employee perspective, this type of announcement sucks though, because over the last going on 4 years, pretty much since COVID, a lot of people have taken jobs that work remote specifically because they don't live close to the studio, because it's a remote job or half remote, half in office, whatever it may be. And so to see an announcement saying, okay, in April, everybody needs to be in office, it can significantly change the, I guess, just the day to day for a lot of people's lives. I mean, if you, like, for example, had all of your childcare planned around you working from home on some of those days, like maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you are working from home, and Tuesday, Thursday, you go into the office. So you only budget for 2 days of childcare, and all of a sudden you have to double that, and more than double that, because you're going to be going into the office on those 3 days. So a little announcement like this, I know some people are like, oh, boo hoo, you're going into the office. There are sort of cascading, I think, consequences for a decision like this. I see the corporate perspective, I want to be clear there, but I also see the human perspective, where an announcement like this can all of a sudden make a job not viable for people, especially that have families or longer commutes or only one vehicle between a couple or something like that. They go on and they say return to office mandates have been a hot topic across various industries since the pandemic forced myriad employees to work from home. More recently, many employers have asked staff to return to the office for 2 or 3 days a week. A study last month found that remote work did not have an impact on productivity. Yeah, a study. It's interesting that I think it depends on the industry. It depends on, of course, who's promoting the narrative. If a corporation is promoting the narrative or is discussing something, of course, the corporation is going to be like, yeah, we find it's more productive when you're in an office and we can have more direct oversight and things like that. And there's the other side where, like, if you're in an office, it's a lot easier, especially in game development, to get you to stay for an extra hour or two. Whereas working from home, you just shut the laptop lid. You know, it's a lot easier to separate. But then, you know, studies that are done from a different perspective or that try to analyze different industries can see other results, as they describe here. Remote work doesn't seem to affect productivity. Fed study finds. San Fran Fed economists don't see evidence of correlation. About 30% of paid work days were still remote as of 2023. And it's just, these pop-ups. And it's just a breakdown of how productivity shifts and changes things. If remote work boosts productivity in a substantial way, then it should improve productivity performance, especially in those industries where teleworking is easy to arrange and widely adopted, such as professional services, compared with those where tasks need to be performed in person, such as restaurants. After controlling for pre-pandemic trends by industry, they found little statistic relationship between productivity and the prevalence of remote work since the pandemic. The COVID-19 upheaval brought a massive surge in telework. At its peak, more than 60% of workdays were done remotely, compared to just 5% before the pandemic. And while many U.S. companies have been pushing employees to return to the office, a hybrid model has so far endured, with about 30% of paid work days done remotely as of December 2023. I mean, I'm all for more studies. I'm all for it. Of course, people's day-to-day lives, I think, are improved by being able to work from home. But then again, like, I think that there's two sides to every argument. There's the business's side, which not many of us really can sympathize too much with. But then there's the human side too. And the truth, as always, is probably somewhere in the middle as to the pros and cons of it. As for video game development specifically, though, it does seem like a ton of leaks come specifically from the telework reliance and the infrastructure required to make working from home and working remote viable. And as a result, they're just locking it down, and they're going to have everything stored probably locally within Rockstar, within their studios, and nothing leaves the studio, so they can keep everything tied down as much as they possibly can. I get it. It's a security thing more than anything. I think, like, the discussion over productivity, it's interesting, but I don't think that that's the key for this. I think the key for this is that they want to focus on security as they describe here. An interesting development. I mean, it's crazy that we're seeing them push closer and closer and closer to the release of GTA 6. Like, that's actually happening, but it's coming. We're close. There's the potential for it to actually release in early 2025. That's a real likelihood, especially now, seeing that in April they're doing this. If they're targeting maybe a May of 2025 release date, or an April or March release date, depending on when their fiscal year ends, we could see them releasing then. It's actually possible, which is just absolutely mad. So we're gonna see, but they're ramping up, and they're taking steps to actively lock down the potential for leaks and to bring employees close together. So it's real. Buckle up, everybody. That's all for this story. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye. Subscribe as well. If you're not subscribed, do that. He took my thing.